Welcome to Locked On Nets. We got some news, some breaking news, and after careful consideration, I consider it good news. I think it's good news. The Nets have signed Killian Hayes to. You can't really call it a 1 year deal. I'll try to explain for you who aren't familiar with what an Exhibit 10 deal is. There's Exhibit 9 and Exhibit 10. He's signed to an Exhibit 10. An Exhibit 10 contract is an NBA 1 year minimum salary agreement with specific attachments that's not included in every contract. These contracts are essentially tryout deals that can be used for G League bonuses or converted into two-way contracts. It's basically a tryout. And generally, I comp these out to what you would see at NFL camps or in a camp arm, right? They bring a quarterback in during mini camp. You generally don't make the team, but there are exceptions, and sometimes they do. And when I first saw this, I was like, well, he's not going to make the roster. He's just here to see what he's got, and it's not going to. After careful consideration, I do think we're going to see him. I do think we're going to see him on that final two-way deal that the Nets have available. I think he fits. I think that you will see him in a Brooklyn Nets uniform. You will see him in a Long Island Nets uniform. I understand why some people might be hesitant with Killian Hayes. Some people might think he sucks because, well, to be honest, through 4 years, he's not been good. He's not improved. His scoring from his first year to his fourth year went from 6.8 to 6.9. His rebounds went from 2.7 to 2.8. His assists fell from 5.3 to 4.9. His three-point shooting went from 27.8 to 29.7. I mean, it's all this bad. So I get top 7 picked in the same draft class as Halliburton, Maxey, and Ball and guys like that. So there were expectations on him. He was supposed to be a good player. It hasn't turned out that way. He turns 23 tomorrow. If you're listening to this on June 26th, he turns 23 on July 27th. For all intents and purposes, he's 23, 6'5", ball handler. He's a legitimate NBA caliber point guard and ball handler. Just talking about a guy who can make passes and handle the rock. He can do that. The knock on him is he's not great defensively, and he's a horrible shooter. And I don't think he's ever going to be able to shoot. But I think he has a role to some. And I like Jacoby Gilliard. And I think this kind of ends Jacoby Gilliard's chance of getting any serious minutes with the Nets, any minutes at all. I think those minutes are now going to go to Killian Hayes. And I like Gilliard, and that's unfortunate. He's essentially, this is essentially a tryout. And he can handle the ball. And the Nets are bare of guys that can handle the ball. They just don't have point guards. Schroeder, not a true point guard. Ben Simmons, we're not counting on Ben Simmons. Cam Thomas is a 2. They just don't have that guy. And I'm not saying this is a guy who's going to play 30 minutes a game. He's not. But he's going to play some minutes. And he's going to handle the ball. And there will be a game this year, I will almost guarantee that Killian Hayes is your starting point guard. I do think he's going to have a role. I'm not saying that there will be a game where Killian Hayes will start with the ball in his hands. And that's saying a lot for a guy that's on a Exhibit 10 contract. It's usually not the case. But I'm sitting here, and he can cut. He can move it out the ball. He cuts towards the basket. He has decent size for a point guard, and the Nets need that. Cam Thomas can't guard ones, and I love Cam Thomas, but he can't guard ones or twos. It's not his function. That's not what he does. He's, Killian Hayes now at 6'5" can guard ones or twos. Not saying he's going to light it up defensively. I'm not saying he's going to lock you down, but he can guard the better of the two players, whether that be your one or your two. You can put Cam on the other one, and you can let Cam focus on offense and not worry about getting beat on defense all the time. He's got some mid-range game. He can't shoot the ball. And even in the mid-range, he doesn't really have like a shooter's touch. But he's got little floaters. He got these little fadeaways. He's got these little moves in the paint where he can score. He's not a terrible player by any means. He just can't really get the ball to drop. And I guess in 2023, 2024, 2025, if you can't get the ball to drop, you can't really play in the NBA because he can't score. He's not a scorer. And he's not an excellent defensive player. So you start saying, well, what does he give you? He's an excellent passer. He's a good ball handler. He's got great vision. He's a legit high-level NBA passer. He's not a terrible player by any means. In 2022, 2023, I really like what he did. And that was kind of the Pistons didn't. He showed that he can't score, though he averaged 10 points a game, which is a career high. But you saw the assists go up. You saw the turnovers drop. And you saw that he could be a backup point guard in the league, which is what I think he is. Right? In the spectrum of things that you can be, backup point guard playing 15 minutes a game isn't terrible. I think Killian Hayes can have a function, have a role on some teams doing that. He can get to the hole. He can get the foul. He shoots 80% from the free throw line, which is not bad, right? So he can get to the holes. He can finish, right? Like, it's just a matter of him getting. So he shoots under 40% from anything, from any spot on the court, more than 3 feet out. That's not what you want. That's not good. Can he improve that? I don't know. But if he can't, I still think he's a backup point guard in the league. But there's talent there. There's a reason why he was taken 7th overall. There's a reason why people scouted him as high as they did. He's not a terrible player. He's a terrible shot maker and a terrible shooter. But there are things that he can do. And I think as Netflix, we're going to get a chance to see him. And I think people are going to be pleasantly surprised with what he can do. Let's get him through this. Let's get him through the preseason. Let's get him to see how he practices, a change of scenery. He's in Detroit. Detroit has no shot makers. Your assist numbers are going to be great in Detroit because they don't have any shot makers. They don't have any shooters. I think the Nets have a better team offensively than the Pistons are. I think his assist numbers are going to go up. I think he can take some, when he does play, he can guard ones and twos. He can take some pressure off Cam so that Cam's not constantly getting picked on. He can, whoever is the better guard in that backcourt, Killian Hayes can guard. Schroeder can't. Schroeder's just as bad defensively. It seems like comparable to Cam Thomas. So I think, and obviously Schroeder's a 10 times better player than Killian Hayes, and Schroeder's not a great player. But I think that there's definitely a role in here for Killian Hayes, and I didn't think that initially. I really didn't. I thought that this is when they announced that they were working him out and they were looking at him. When the Marks announced that, I laughed at the idea. I laughed at the notion, but I've really gone back. I've watched the tape. I've watched him how that was. I've studied his numbers. His numbers aren't good, but he can handle the ball. And I do think he's a legitimate NBA playmaker and a legitimate high-level passer, there's a role for that. Now, is that long-term with the Nets? I don't know. But this is not a joke. This is not a guy that's going to be in and out. And initially, I thought he was. I said, Killian Hayes, what does he do? And like, when you really study his tape, you can see he's got good vision. He's a good decision maker with the ball. He's like the backup quarterback who you put in and just doesn't turn the ball over. Like, just don't give the game away. Just don't blow the game. That's kind of what he is. And there's a place for that. He's not going to put up horrible shots. He's not going to turn the ball over. He's not going to make terrible decisions. He comes from a basketball family. His dad was a college player. He's got a brain for the game. He's got vision on the court. He can make the right play. He just can't make shots. And, at 22, 23, he'll be 23 by the time you're listening to this, most likely. He's probably not going to get a whole lot better, right? If he's going to get a whole lot better at that, he probably would have did that in year 2, year 3. This is year 5. I don't see that working out. He's still very young. He's still going to have energy. He's athletic, but he's not hyper athletic. He's a good athlete, lefty shooter. There are things that you like about him. But ultimately, he's not a shooter, so he's not really going to play a major role. But that doesn't mean he can't play some role. And I do believe that this is a guy that can play some role with the Nets. For shooting, I think you give him a lot of minutes. The biggest, most obvious, most glaring flaw on him is that he cannot hit shots. He's never been able to hit shots at any level. So, like, will he be able to do it now? He probably won't be. Even at that, I still think there's a role for him here. I still think that this was a good move by Marks. And I've been rough on Marks. I've hated a lot of things Marks has done. I think Marks has waited too long to trade a lot of guys. This is a decent move. I see no downside in it What's the downside? It's an Exhibit 10 contract. It's fully non-guaranteed. Listen, fully non-guaranteed. None of it's guaranteed. So he's basically trying out the team. If it doesn't work out, if I'm dead wrong and he can't handle the ball and he can't pass it to the open guy and he turns the ball over nonstop, then they just don't pay him anything. Like what was the issue here? What was the downside? And it's surprising to me that this is all he can get. No other team looked at this top 7 guy, this lottery pick, high lottery pick, and said, let me roll the dice on this guy. People rated him higher than Maxey. Like, this isn't crazy. It's not. There's some ability, some athleticism there. Was he overdrafted? Yes, he was absolutely overdrafted. But that doesn't mean he can't have a function. He can't have a role. This is a guy that could be, when you reassess him and you look at the draft, okay, he's a second-round pick. He's a second-round pick that can kick around. And, guys that are picked in a lot of guys who are picked here are picked here for a reason. Very rarely do they not get a second chance. And Killian Hayes is getting a second chance. And I think this may be a better fit for him. I think his role is going to be more defined. He went to Detroit, and it was a disaster. It's a mess. And, I'm trying to get a Pistons guy to come on and kind of talk through Killian Hayes, because I don't know about y'all. How many of y'all are really watching Detroit Pistons basketball when they're not playing the Nets? So, to be fair, we didn't get a lot of – I went back and watched the tape, but we didn't get a lot of real live game watching of Killian Hayes. If you're telling me you're coming home every day from work to watch the Detroit Pistons, or you're recording the Detroit Pistons game and you're not in Detroit and you're not a Pistons fan, I don't believe you. But let me know what you guys think. Leave your thoughts, comments below. Please smash the like button, like, subscribe, nothing but Nets. We try to bring you net content every single day, multiple days a week. Let me know what you guys think. Thoughts, comments below. Please like and subscribe. It is July 26th from Texas to the world. Thank you, and God bless.